Hello once again and welcome to the Prince Magnum channel where hot rodding and romance do coexist. I'm your host Prince Magnum and this is a special episode of Off the Chain. This episode is in conjunction with the series of 4 videos that are coming out. This will be the 4th video talking about the St. Francis County Next Voice Karaoke Contest. And for the first time ever, to go along with this, I've got Big Bad Burt of Bert TV right here on the phone with me at the very same moment I'm filming this. So,
and I'm filming mine too.
We're doing this all at the same time. This is the first time that we have ever done something like this here on the Prince Magnum channel and on Burt TV. So this is really kind of exciting. All right, Bert. Now I know you probably got 500,000 questions of what's going on with the karaoke contest.
Well, you told me a lot, so I know a little bit, and I saw the first video in full length.
Right.
Where you explained pretty much what I knew, that you get 4 eliminations.
Right.
And you were already eliminated. I know that. I don't know if they know that, but they will now.
Yeah. Let me explain what happened. Let's get everyone caught up to speed. I went there. Princess Faye came directly over from her job. I was already at home. Basically, I suited up and showed up. And we just kind of met over there at Laz's Bar and Grill. At the
Afterglows.
What's that?
It used to be Afterglows.
Yeah, it used to be Afterglows. And before that, it was something else. And then before that, it was Wild Horse Saloon. Now, while it was under Wild Horse Saloon, I actually knew the owner who had it when it was under Wild Horse Saloon, old Gino. And matter of fact, if you go into some of my old videos, you'll actually see me on that stage when it was Wild Horse Saloon. So in that very same bar.
It's in Leadington, folks.
Mm-hmm. If you're not familiar with where it's located, in Leadington, basically, if you hit the back road going from Farmington, like you're going to Mineral Area College, it'll be right there on your left-hand side, not too terribly far after you pass Sam Sism 4.
Yeah, I know where that's at.
Okay, and as a matter of fact, if you go in behind that, there's an actual antique shop in behind Laz's Bar and Grill.
So it's not by the gun shop. Oh, I'm thinking 221. Sorry.
You could see the indoor gun range from they're real close to each other.
I was thinking about that pawn shop you were telling me about. I saw that on 221.
Yes. It
was Farmington and Doe Run, but that's a different highway.
Yeah, that particular place used to have a place called Wild River, and that's where I started singing karaoke for the first time.
Okay. Moving right along.
Okay, let's talk about the contest because I'm sure Burt Heads and the Maverick Nation really wants to know what exactly happened. Okay, as I was saying, it was a suit up and show up sort of thing. I had to sign some additional entry stuff. I'd already paid my entry fee. The entry fee is $10. Right now there's talk that they're only going to do 4 preliminary rounds. They may go to 5, possibly 6, depending on how this looks.
Now the $10 covers all 4 preliminary rounds.
Yeah, it covers the entire contest. Okay. So I was warned that the first night I was probably going to have some stiff competition. We just didn't know how stiff the competition was. Now the first song, which is already posted, and after we're done filming, I will be posting the second song and then this video, trying to keep it in order of operations. As a matter of fact, I even got to try to, in all of this, I've got to try to eke out a surviving romance video as well for Valentine's Day.
Which is tomorrow, folks.
Yeah, that's tomorrow as we're filming right now. Now, as it stands, you know, I did my warm-up song, which I did Deuce by Kiss, and it's already kind of mentioned briefly on on Burt's channel. Basically, there's a company trying to claim the whole fucking song. Excuse my language, folks.
My language, and here you are saying the F word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dog.
And they've already done this to me once before, and it's the same company. And I turned right around and basically said, you know, no, we're both going to share on this one. Which, if they continue to push it, like I said, you know, my monetization's off right now anyways because of the changes to YouTube's AdSense BS. And I will just go around them and go directly to Patreon. But I digress. In a nutshell, I did my warm-up song, and as a matter of fact, one of the judges even said to me, hey, you know, we're not judging this one. I said, no, I'm getting warmed up. But there was a particular reason why I went so hardcore. Because down here, it's a lot of country music. I mean, a lot of country music. Karaoke singers typically do country music. Thank God the guys have gotten past the Toby Keith stage. Thank God for that. I don't mind Toby Keith. He's a great country music singer, but it gets to the point where I get tired of hearing it, you know.
I don't like Toby Keith, but I don't like country.
Right. It's one of those things that I'm not... when it comes to music, I respect the artist because they did the song and they're performing it and everything. But on the other hand, I may not like that. I just may not like the song. But as kind of like from one singer to another, I still respect what they do.
As many people know, I'm a Beatles fan, and Prince Magnum here is a Kiss fan.
Well, if you like Kiss, you really should listen to the Beatles because Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley claim that their inspiration for what they do is the Beatles.
Yeah,
so,
a lot of groups, Aerosmith and others also think that.
But anyhow, moving on. So I did that song, and to kind of get everyone on board. The next song that I did, which was my judged song, the one that was scored, was Rock and Roll All Night, and another Kiss song. Now, for those for those bird heads and for the Maverick Nation, why am I choosing Kiss songs? And that's an easy one. That's a very easy one. When in doubt, scream. Really. Unfortunately, the reason why I got eliminated, because when you look at the 4 categories, yes, I have the singing talent. Yes, I have the stage presence. And yes, I have the crowd behind me. If you've not seen the video yet, which some of you will see that video soon enough, I'll be loading that one as soon as I'm done with this, filming this video. Basically, I mean, I had the crowd behind me. I had one of the biggest crowd responses I possibly have ever had at any time I've ever been on stage. So it was awesome. The problem that we had was I have crammed my head so full of different songs over the years, knowing so many, that I have to look at the screen every now and again. And the other problem is for those who are Kiss fans, know there's a couple of versions of Rock and Roll All Night.
Yep. This one, Matches, Thrashes, and Hits.
And
this one, Dress to Kill, there's live versions.
Right. So it becomes a difficult situation. There's even an acoustic version of Rock and Roll. Yeah, from the Unplugged album. The problem that we have is I'm super familiar with the one from Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. That's the one that I know probably better than any version. Well, unfortunately, I was on stage doing the one from Dress to Kill, which I do know it, but I don't know it as well as the one from Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits. So,
a little shorter and fades more.
Right. So because of that, I had a little bit of difficulty. So I actually had to look at the screen a couple of times to see where I was. So this became, so it cost me a couple of points. Had it not been for that, there's an excellent chance that I would have made it. But it's one of those things. The other problem that we also had was the ones that the people I went up against. There was 18 contestants that night, and that includes me. 2 of them were too drunk to really do anything, so they weren't any good at all. Then of what was left out of 16, the judges could have crumpled up pieces of paper and thrown them at any one of us, and they would have made a good choice. I mean, just straightforward, hard-hitting honesty right there. Those guys, everyone that I went up against, the other 15 that were really worth a dang even mentioning, were phenomenal. They were awesome. As a matter of fact, there was one guy who did a live by Pearl Jam, I think is who it is. I forget. He did an amazing job, and he was one of the ones that got in, and he was phenomenal. I mean, hands down, bar none, no questions asked. He was good. And I've never seen anything like that. He was awesome. So.
He was off the chain.
Huh?
He was off the chain.
Yeah, he was like unhinged, man. He was good. Me, like I said, I mean, I did my thing. Now, we did discover one problem, though. Princess Faye was way too close to the stage with the Magnum cam. The problem that we discovered with that is the speakers put out a huge amount of volume. I mean, those speakers were not small at all. And it basically caused some feedback through the speaker on, the microphone on the camera. And that became a problem. And there's no way to adjust that. The only thing that she can do is just not sit there. So.
You'll learn for the next time you guys film.
Exactly. It's just one of those things. It's not her fault. It's not my fault. We did not anticipate that. Initially, I did ask her to stay more center stage and back. She felt that she should be closer to the stage as far as camera shots went. And if it had not been for the feedback into the microphone for the Magnum cam, I honestly believe she had the better. Her decision would have been better. But now, because of this, we need to find a way to maybe film that shot where the volume of those speakers is not, feeding back through the camera.
I want to add too that you said you were going to make an edited version of that video, so I can put it on Burt TV.
Exactly. Now, for all of you Burt heads and for the Maverick Nation, the main reason why I'm doing this is a way to promote the channel. YouTube is messing with the creators now. They changed how the monetization works, and basically, if you do not have 1,000 subscribers and a total of 4,000 hours of watched video time, which I have, I believe, the hours, but I don't have the subscribers. In other words, so they're starting to already shut off people's monetization.
I'm at 282, and I think you're at 257.
257, 256. I'm fluctuating right now.
Yeah, I do.
So because of this, I have to, I'm probably going to have to find other means to keep the Prince Magnum channel going, because for the most part, it's funded out of pocket, but it's starting to get very hard to do that.
Yeah, mine's low budget, but I can still do it that way.
Right. Well, because the Prince Magnum channel is so low budget, and because we do, more upscale budget stuff, it does become a problem. So, that's why we're looking at the Patreon account, which, again, we're already doing that. Now, if you've been following me on Twitter, you'll know when I'm going to be at Laz's Bar and Grill. You'll also know when I'll be putting on magic shows at the Bonterre City Library as well. the Bonter Memorial Library. So there you go. I mean, right now going into this next Friday, we're stoked. I believe I've got the song that's going to get me in with no problem. Because of the problems I keep having trying to use Deuce, because that is one of my favorite songs to warm up the night with. You know, it's just one of those things that since I'm having those problems, we may not use Deuce again for YouTube, but we'll continue to keep adding, you know, other songs to that list.
Yeah.
Because I can do a whole host of songs, believe it or not. It's just that those are the ones that I typically gravitate towards.
You should try Neil Diamond too. I got watch time minutes 7,555.
I'm quite a bit more than that, believe it or not. I'm at almost for minutes. I think it's around almost 10,000.
And on views, I got 9,923.
Well, I've got one video that, honestly, again, I hate that one video, but that's just kind of the way it is.
Unfortunately, we don't get to pick and choose what people are going to like from our channel.
Right. You know, it's just one of them things. So, in a nutshell, that's where we stand. Did you watch? I guess you watched the video of me on stage. What'd you think?
I saw part of it. I didn't see it all. I saw Deuce, and it looked really good.
Rock and Roll All Night was better. Like I said, one of the things that I'll do at the end of a song is throughout the song is I'll add in my own little take on it, and to kind of get crowd responses. When I did Rock and Roll All Night, I was on it.
I got it in my video, so I can upload it.
Okay.
Yours. I was telling all my viewers goodbye for my viewers, but keep watching the Prince Manor channel and watch the Prince Manor channel for the continuation of what it said.
Right. Now, so basically today I spent pretty much a good while kind of, you know, I had to work on Spirit because, you know, that's just kind of part of the persona. Prince Magnum going to sing karaoke and taking Project Spirit. So that's all part of the persona. You know, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
You know, I got a funny feeling that I won't get in this next round, but I'm going to try anyways. But I've got a funny feeling I'm going to go all the way to the third preliminaries to get in.
But you got to have the faith, brother.
Oh, I've got no... I would like to see myself go all the way to at least the semifinals. But seeing my competition that I've got right now, it's going to be... Oh, my God. Burt, I'm here to tell you that I'm a good singer. No question about that. But I'm going up against some real tough people. And a lot of these people have already been doing karaoke contests for a little while, and you can tell. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough run.
I mean, I was telling you, and I want to tell the Maverick Nation this, even though we're not on Burt TV right now, that there was a bar in South St. Louis called Super Bungalow. It's only on the street, or was on over.
Yeah, you were telling me about that you had brought down the house there a couple times.
I used to love doing karaoke, and I was starting out with Beatles songs, and my friend Jerry Owens, he was always a big Kiss fan. I'm not like Kiss, but I was a Kiss fan before the Beatles. So when Peter Criss left Kiss, I was like, oh, they suck. And that was in like October 1980.
Right.
And then unfortunately, tragedy happened on December 8th, 1980. And believe it or not, I didn't even know who the man was. My best friend Jerry Gerst, who died at the Ritz Lodge Hotel in 2015. He's on a few videos on Burt TV. He said something horrible happened last night. I'm like, what? And he goes, John Lennon was shot and killed.
Yep.
I really was like, who's John Lennon? I had no idea who the man was. And,
see, I knew who John Lennon was.
You were a year old when this happened.
Well, yeah, I would have been about a year old then.
Yeah, and I was 12, and I'm a little bit older than you, not a whole lot, a tad bit, but I'll be 50 this year in case the Maverick Nationers is wondering how old Burt is. But, so that's what made me like John Lennon. So I used to be a Kiss fan, big time, die hard. But my friend Jerry was like, you can't do a Kiss song in karaoke. So I nailed him, and I was doing Beth and a Rock and Roll All Night. And the Maverick Nation appreciate this. And I told you about this. I did Rock and Roll All Night, my closing song, before we had to leave. Got a standing ovation, the whole bar, and
right.
one lady was bowing to me.
Now, see, I've done, which I'll probably do this one at some point in the contest. Believe it or not, I can actually pull off singing Beth.
I was gonna say, you'll get the women to like that one. The women like that song.
Oh yeah, that's a very popular one with the ladies.
Make it like you're singing it for every woman in there.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll go far with that one.
Yeah, that's a very popular one. This contest has gotten so serious for me here on the Prince Magnum channel that Princess Faye is actually going to let me get away with singing a song that I've not been allowed to sing in ages since we've been together. Yeah.
Forever, that's a good song.
Forever, yeah. Forever by Kiss.
Did you know a little trivia? Peter Criss, who sung Beth, is 72 years old.
I'm not surprised. I believe he's the oldest member of Kiss, actually.
Right, oldest original member, Ace is the youngest.
Yep. But yeah, we discussed at great length. I said, I might need this song somewhere in this contest, and she said, well, I'll understand. We're looking at me doing some Neil Diamond songs. Obviously, got to do Neil Diamond. Neil Diamond is probably one of the most unsung heroes in folk rock and roll.
Just so the Maverick Nation will know, I'm getting ready to upload my version of the video just filmed.
Right.
So hopefully it'll be up by tonight sometime.
Yeah. Now by Thursday, I'll be doing a video discussing some issues that have come up with Project Spirit. They're fixed, but it's something that I think that everybody who owns a classic car, because evidently everybody's buying up Mavericks now. And that's not a joke. The YouTube is starting to be flooded with people putting Maverick grabbers back on the road.
Well, you're a trendsetter, dude. Congratulate yourself.
Well, the biggest trendsetter, see, they're doing two-door Maverick grabbers. I'm still rocking a four-door.
You rock it, baby. You rock it.
But we love Project Spirit,
Yeah, we do. We love the old girl. Matter of fact, I told you, you ever get rid of that car, I'm going to beat you up myself.
Well, if I ever got rid of her, it'd be for a damn good reason.
Yeah, I mean, it better be for... I think I told you too, jokingly, I probably would have to wait in line to do that one. I think there's a few...
Yeah, there's quite a few people who would want my head on a chopping block.
I think a few of them are volunteer police officers.
Right.
Except for one who actually wants Project Spirit.
There's a Farmington police officer has actually said that if I ever go to get rid of Spirit, he wants me to be the first to let him know. And I said, you'll be the first to know. It's just one of them things.
On Burt TV, that car is not for sale. It's not for anyone. Better not get rid of that car.
No. Project Spirit's my baby girl. And
that car is your channel.
Shoot, that's one of the number one reasons why everybody watches.
Yeah.
I mean,
You'd be hurting yourself on that one, dude. No offense.
Right, I know, but that's just part of, the Prince Magnum channel's appeal, is the fact that we were already doing Mavericks. you know, everybody else, it's like in the past, I'm going to say 6 months, YouTube has been exploding with videos on Mavericks. And as a matter of fact, I just got through watching one where this one guy was basically saying that Ford had created a monster and it looked to put the Mustang to bed. That's why the Maverick was finally killed. You know. And when I watched his video and looked through it, I said, well, that actually makes sense now. You know, that actually makes sense.
You're going to enjoy my version of this crossover. I can tell you, folks, it's going to have Project Spirit as a thumbnail.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, God, yes.
Be a thumbnail. When you see the video on my channel or on recommended for you, it'll have Project Spirit for the thumbnail.
Oh, yeah.
I have a picture that I kind of stole. I acquired. You probably didn't know I had.
Well, and I'll tell you right now.
It's actually from film footage of your channel.
Right. Well, since I've got you on here, and for the Maverick Nation, and for any Burt heads that decide to cross over and watch, Burt has actually rode in Project Spirit.
Yes, I have. And it's the smoothest ride, folks, you're ever going to have. He was going 80, and I didn't even notice.
Yeah. I opened up Spirit, and basically what it was, if you go back to the footage from that crossover, when I opened up the old girl... well,
we weren't filming at that time, at least I wasn't.
You weren't filming, I was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was filming. And you could see in the footage that we were cruising a good lick, but again, you know, it was one of those things until I looked over at you and said, do you realize how fast we are going? And you're like, I haven't got a clue. I said, we're doing 80.
And Princess Faye was in the back seat.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I'm used to it. You know, I'm used to this car flying.
Yeah.
You know.
Crazy as Prince Magnum.
Yeah. And
her husband. The king's gold isn't what it used to be, so you work amongst the common people.
But yeah, you looked over and you're like, well, and I had to explain how that speedometer of mine works because of the larger wheels. And you kind of looked and said, yeah, we are going that fast. Good God, I can't even tell until you said something. Because it was starting, the trees on the side of the road were starting to turn into a wall of green. At about 100 miles, for those who do not know, at about 100 miles an hour, trees on the sides of the highway will look like a solid wall of green. And when you keep going past that, it just keeps getting worse. But they start around 80, they start to lose, you know, they'll start losing shape. Or at least that's the way it's always been for me. I don't know about for the rest of you, but that's how I know how. You kind of get used to how fast you go when you've done it enough. But yeah, I mean, you couldn't even tell.
I have a video up already. It was uploaded tonight, and I will explain to everyone on your channel what it's about. It's me and my caregiver, who I call Alexis Vanderhoff, but you know her real name.
Right.
And I can't say because A1 Home Care would have my ass if I said her real name. Mm-hmm. Not even supposed to say A1 Home Care, but it's not on my channel. I'm saying it on yours.
Right.
That's who I through, and I can say her name on your channel. It's Shelley Hoff.
Oh, yep.
We're not filming on my channel.
Right.
And that's who Alexis Vanderhoff is, folks. Shelley Hoff. She lives in Bonterre. And, you know, basically, we were watching a truck weave off the road. It felt like he appeared to be drunk. I'm not going to say he was. I don't know. It appeared like he was drunk. She said, you need to film this for Burt TV. I started filming. I had my Android with me. I carry it with me everywhere. I don't always film. I was having a cell phone with me, and you know, for in case something happens. And I was filming. He lost us as soon as I started filming. But it's right outside Dole Run where we were filming on 221, and then it's a short video, but you should check it out if you want to see some beautiful countryside. There's beautiful country out here. I'll admit that.
Oh, I'll tell you that right now. Yeah.
Going to Ironton, there's beautiful country.
Mm-hmm.
Ironton, very beautiful country out here.
Well, I'll tell you straight up. I grew up in the Ironton area, and now that you've been down there, for what, the last 4 or 5 months now, I will tell anybody that, well, now you're starting to see some of my old stomping ground.
Yeah, it's pretty beautiful.
As a matter of
Iron Mountain Lake looks beautiful, but according to A.J. McCroon, whose real name was Amber Jester, she's not my caregiver anymore because of me put on my channel about faggots and queers.
right.
And she's a lesbian, so she got mad at me. But she told me, and Prince Brandon backed this up, that Iron Mountain Lake is nothing but pedophiles and crystal meth labs.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yes. Now, when you get into the Ironton area, now over there by Save-A-Lot, okay. Now, if you were across the street where that old gas station used to be, I let out of there one day with Blue Thunder, my old '78 Camaro, and had that car sideways, shot down Highway 21, heading the other direction away from Pilot Knob, heading towards Arcadia, and I actually got pulled over because that dang car just flat would get it, and I wasn't even hardly touching the pedal. And them 400 small blocks were no joke. Lots of torque. Lots of torque.
And for people who probably, you talked a little bit about your channel. There were 4 of you that were big-time drag racers down there. Of course, Donnie is no longer with us.
Right, Donnie. Let me go through the names real quick. Donnie was one of them, and his car crash is still being talked about today. And I'll tell more about that here in a second that most people don't realize. Then there was a guy named Jamie who was freaking phenomenal behind the wheel of pretty much anything he built. Which he comes from a family that they were all street racers in their day. Then there was T-Bone, which if you go to the goodbye to the old Farmington 1 McDonald's, T-Bone is briefly in there wearing a maintenance shirt. He wasn't maintenance, he was just borrowing one of mine for the footage. And he was waving to the camera with a couple missing fingers. That happened to him when he was working in a factory in his 20s.
Can you say his name on his real first name on your channel?
I won't because I'm kind of protected. But he goes by T-Bone.
Okay.
And he still lives down in the Ironton area. And his mom and dad, they treat me like one of their own. Good people. I need to go down and see them.
I can't use the picture or the thumbnail for Project Spirit because I can't get it uploaded. So
I'll have to send you a picture of her.
Yeah, it'll be a picture of you and I if this one ever uploads.
Right. But then so there was Donnie, Jamie, T-Bone, and then myself. Now it was kind of Donnie had already passed on as I was coming into street racing. He'd already passed. He'd been gone for probably about 6-7 months. T-Bone had been doing it for a while, and he's one that his I guess you could say his vehicles of choice was always Chevy trucks. You put him behind even today, if you put him behind the wheel of a Chevy truck, he will do amazing things with that truck.
I lied. It's going to be Project Spirit picture. I stole from your video.
There you go.
Of you driving down Water Street.
There you go. That'll work.
Am I allowed to say that on your channel?
Yeah, that's fine. I think at this point everyone pretty well knows where to find me. This is one of them things.
I didn't say your apartment complex. No, let's face it, Water Street is only one apartment complex.
Right, I was going to say. But then, now me, I was always a GM kind of guy. More particular, I cut my teeth in hot rodding with Chevy small blocks. And, that was just what I learned first. I tried my hand at Chevrolet V6s out of the 80s. They weren't bad. Messed around with Buick V6s, not a big fan. I've had I've had a Ford 302. That was a good engine. Couldn't work on it because I just didn't have the patience that I do today, which isn't much more with Fords, believe it or not.
How do you do it without the patience?
Hmm?
How do you do work on them without the patience?
I think it's commonplace. If you work on cars, you cuss a lot. You throw tools. Yeah, that's just kind of how it is. Yeah, that's just the way it is. But in all reality, I mean, it was always Chevy small blocks that I always gravitated towards. And then I've tried my hand at a Ford 4-cylinder. Wasn't bad at it. And of course now working with Project Lena, getting to tinker with GM, with the GM late model V6s. That's kind of a new thing. And of course, I always wanted to, and now I get to do it. I'm getting to work with the Ford Inline 6 because I'd always been told that they were some of the best engines, and I've encountered them in my younger years. Got to kind of drive a few trucks with the Ford 300 in it, which is...
Now, you confessed to me on private conversations on the phone that the Inline 6 you agree was one of the best engines.
Inline 6s and American Inline 6s and American Slant 6s from Mopar are some of the best unsung heroes of their day. Most people don't realize before V8 technology really came into its own, it was always the Inline 6 that was oftentimes the first choice for a budget build. Even though at the time that you might had that the Ford Flathead V8 was available, or even the Y-block V8 from Ford, inline 6s were the way to go because they were cheap. If I remember my history correctly, Victor Edelbrock Sr. started off working on Ford Model T 4-cylinders. And his first intake manifold was for that engine. Of course, now we know what the Edelbrock Corporation does today. I'm not a big fan of Edelbrock. I lean more towards Y-end or Offenhauser or Holley. That's just me.
Dave, I don't know.
What's that?
What do they do today?
Edelbrock is one of the first choices for their intakes. It's one of the first choices that hot rodders typically go to for their V8 builds.
So they're doing exceptionally well.
Oh yeah, they're doing just fine. Now I go to the YN Stealth intake for pretty much all of my V8 builds, and the reason being is the Performer RPM is good from idle to about 7,000 RPM. Well, I'm sorry, 1,000 RPM or 1,500. I'm sorry, 1,500 RPM to 7,000 RPM, which that's a pretty good range, but that's more of a racing application. If I want to drive it on the street, not so much. The one that goes from idle would be the regular Edelbrock Performer, but it's only good from idle to 5,500 RPM. If I want to get a wider range, just in case, I have to go outside of Edelbrock and go to Y-end. And the Stealth is good from idle to 7,000 RPM, giving me a wider range with that intake manifold for a fraction of the cost.
Hey, Prince Magnum, real quick. You stall and talk to your people. I'm going to put the phone down here in my office, go to the bathroom, take a pee, and I'll come right back.
All right. But
don't go anywhere.
I'm not going anywhere. But anyhow, while Burt is stepping away, in a nutshell, the Prince Magnum channel, the karaoke contest is super, super, super important as far as getting the content out there. I know that I'm going to have some help from Party Pro. I'm also going to have some help from Laz's Bar and Grill, which they've already been doing their part. I'm just hoping that people are able to get on board. So that's pretty much where we stand. There will be more stuff coming out about Project Spirit. There will be more stuff We've had, and some of you may be wondering why there's not any more Surviving Romance that's been put out as of recent. We'll get to that at a later date. All that needs to be talked about is Princess Faye has kind of asked me to slow down on it. So we'll leave it at that for the moment. And we will be continuing the series on, for do-it-yourself budget hot rodding, performance not included. We will be doing another series. I haven't started loading videos, does it daily. Lots and lots and lots of stuff going on here on the Prince Magnum channel. We will be tackling more issues with the state government on In Your Face. Off the Chain is going to continue. We are going to talk about how I've made a total of 12 years of continuous sobriety on Sober Talk.
And we're planning crossovers too, you and I.
Yes, yes. And Burt and I have also talked about doing a reaction video because he's never seen, he's kind of seen what Project Spirit can do, but he's never really felt, and he's seen on video, but he's never really truly felt the awesome power that Project Spirit can put down. He's never experienced that.
I just want to say 22 minutes on my next video to upload.
Okay.
By River and myself. So people look for that one too. It's Selections Vanderhoff, Shelley Hoff, and I.
There you go.
From the other day.
So pretty much, that's where it stands right now. I've been wanting to try to get Burt out there to see me on stage, but unfortunately, with the hours that this contest is keeping from 9 till close, it's going to be very difficult. But I will be giving him copies of the footage from that experience. So.
Yeah, well, we have to let the Maverick know I'm in very bad health, people, and Prince Magnum is afraid of my health issues. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, I don't know how you would hold up there, Burt.
Yeah, 1 a.m. is way past my bedtime.
But
I'm usually waking up at 3 o'clock a.m. or 3:30 and drinking my first cup of coffee, and usually filming a Burt TV video. It's like
right. So that's where we stand. You got anything else?
Well, I had to pee because that coffee I started on my video went through me really fast.
It happens to us all. So,
but, I just want to say that Prince Magnum and I are trying to get back to where we were on crossovers, and I'm hoping that we can do crossovers to promote his, prior to his performances, and we can promote that on my channel and his. Of course, I have time to upload whenever. Prince Magnum is a family man. He's got a wife, Princess Faye.
And I'm a working man. I've worked my butt off.
Got a job where my job is to be crazy and act silly and get paid for it. Must be nice.
Right, and I go to McDonald's every day and clean fry vats and stuff like that.
Yes, and so I got more time to upload, but we're hoping to get these in, and hopefully he can upload them prior to the performances, because we know we got people on both channels from down here in St. Francis County, Missouri, as well as around the world that watch our channels, and we're hoping that the local people in St. Francis County, whether you're in Bonne Terre, or you're in Park Hills, or Leadington, or Bismarck, or Ironton, which is Iron County, or Fredericktown, which is Madison County. This is a big multiple county area.
Yeah.
And we got the people that are watching. Our channels. We just hope that we can reach them. And I do post what I can to promote Prince Magnum and I on my Facebook page. I want to take this time to thank everyone who might saw the post I did for Prince Magnum on when he was facing possible jail time and dodging another bullet video. I got I'm hoping I got some people to that reason why the judge went easy on him. Maybe you all called in because you saw my post.
Well, I've got a funny feeling that a lot of people did call in like, hey man, this ain't cool.
Yeah, usually my post pisses people off, and they do look and see what I'm watching so they can turn me in to either my therapist or the A1 home care. But I think they might saw that, the ones looking for something bad, and it's like, oh, this is even worse because he's actually, I think people down here admire that, even though you and I don't see eye to eye, we don't agree.
Right.
We're friends. You know, I mean, we're proving down here, because a lot of people, no offense to people watching that are from down here, a lot of people down here in St. Francis County have the attitude, well, if you don't agree with me, fuck you. I don't want you. Sorry for that, Mom.
Right.
I don't want to be your friend. And we're proving that you can be friends. You don't have to agree with everyone and all time with everybody. I think you and I are leading by example.
Right. And I'll say, to everybody who's watching, I'll tell anybody straight up honest. I don't want everyone to agree with everything I say.
Exactly. I don't want. It keeps it interesting to disagree. That's why I like
Well, it doesn't hurt to have a different opinion.
Yeah, because it keeps things in. I don't want someone to agree with me all the time. That's like kissing my ass. Well,
exactly.
I don't want them as a friend or kissing my ass.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they really sincerely mean they agree. I want people to disagree with me. I want the diversified. I want challenge me mentally.
Right.
Me and Prince Madam, I know a lot of people watching his channel think, oh, Burt's is a crazy fuck. What you see on Burt TV is not totally me. Prince Madam knows this. I'm very highly intelligent. I've learned more by school of hard knocks and living life than I did in school. I was a goof off in school. But I've learned a lot. Even then, I learned more in school than I thought I did. So, I'm very highly intelligent also. If you actually sit down and have a conversation with me, people are amazed. And what you see on Burt TV is just one aspect of me. It's just the goofiness. I realize that people think I'm crazy. I can capitalize on this, even though I don't get paid for my channel. I can make something of it, being goofy on YouTube, and, it gets the views, it gets the subscribers. And there are people who are dual subscribers through Prince Magnum and Burt TV channels, so they're going to hear this. It's not deceiving no one, it's just me being a goofball, is all.
Right.
Really.
Now, I'm wondering if the Cadillac Kid is going to... I know he's been very busy. He's rushing to try to get his channel up to 1,000. And
I'm subscribed to his channel. I want him to know I am subscribed to his channel. And I do know his real name, but I'm not going to say because I respect that. I know your real name too, and I've never said it that I know of.
Well, there was a couple of times, but I was able to bleep it out.
Yeah, you bleeped it out. I said, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for the S-bomb, everyone, but I was like, oh crap, I just said it.
Right.
And luckily we weren't filming for Burt TV. My camera went off, because then we would have had to reshoot the whole shot. We had to do that one time. I said it early on.
Yeah, I remember that crossover.
I got to start over. You can bleep yours out. I can't. And my Windows Movie Maker, folks, is not working.
Mine still is, thankfully.
Yeah, but it's not supported by Windows anymore. The essentials, you can't get it. So hopefully his will continue to be working.
If not, I'll find a different program. Either way.
But they all cost. I'm not going to pay. But the Burt TV anthologies were the last thing I could edit on Movie Maker, and the last one, 5.6, was actually pictures that I put together on my computer that were in video form.
Yep.
The pictures of you on there. You should check it out. Of you and I and you, and I think Project Spirit's on there.
Yeah. And again, if you're just subscribing to the Prince Magnum channel or you're just subscribing to Burt TV, Project Spirit is the car that St. Francis County has fallen in love with.
And everyone on the Maverick Nation, even some people in Burt TV, love this car. It is the mascot of Prince Magnum YouTube channel.
And I refer to it as, here in St. Francis County, it's the people's hot rod.
And I actually have, when I was still living in Bonterra City Apartments on Buckeye, folks, I would walk to Prince Magnum's apartment, which wasn't far, wasn't a long walk.
No.
And when he brought her back for the first time, and I saw her, or I even walked up to his apartment, I said, welcome back, old girl, we missed you. And I told him about it, he had a big smile on his face.
Yep. And see, a lot of people don't realize, well, Burt, for all of our subscribers, I'll just go ahead and throw this out there. Most people would be shocked to know when I did the that last car show where Spirit took first place. There was a guy who was walking with his grandson. He was an older gentleman, and everyone will have to excuse my language. He's like, "Oh my God, look at that car." He's like, "Look at that girl. Oh man." And he looks right at his grandson. He said, "You keep talking Mustang." He said, "I'm going to tell you right now, any asshole can drive a Mustang." He said, "It takes someone special to drive a Maverick." And he's like, "Is that what I'm looking at?" He said, "This is a Maverick." The appeal of Mavericks, let me just throw this one out there. There was a gentleman who was eyeballing both when we had Project Vera. He was looking at both Vera and Spirit. And I actually have some video footage on the channel where he actually was driving Project Spirit and I was in the passenger seat. Very weird.
Very weird. Robin, it's Bertman.
Mm-hmm.
To the Bertmobile.
Yeah, more or less. It was very odd being in the passenger seat. I'm not used to being in the passenger seat of Spirit. But we're and he's driving her around and he fell in love with her. Well, his daughter, she said, "Dad, I know I kept saying I wanted you to fix a Corvette up for me." He said, "Okay, if you changed your mind." She said, "I want a Maverick." That's the appeal of the Maverick.
How old was the daughter?
14.
Wow.
Instantly, he threw his arms around her. He said, "I knew you were my daughter for a reason." And so, I mean, again, the Maverick, Project Spirit there are people who still have Mavericks down here. There's a couple of...
I want to throw this in, because a lot of people don't realize this about me. I am a licensed driver. I do have a valid Missouri driver's license. And if I'm not mistaken, from when I was back in the 80s, when I was a teenager, I'm sure it's still like this because Missouri don't change their laws. Learner's permit to drive, I believe you can be 15 and a half for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can't drop out of high school. If you drop out of high school, it's 18 before you can start driving.
Exactly, and you got to be 16 in high school before you can actually drive.
Right. All that being said, I mean, immediately, it gave me a heartwarming feeling. I mean, I've got tons of stories with Project Spirit. I went when we did the car show over at Pilot Knob at the Fort Davidson battle, the Fort Davidson Civil War Museum. I came up, but Princess Faye was telling me this one woman was sitting there. She said, "Finally, some real fucking cars." And what it was is and I had the chance to talk to her. She said, "Do you own these cars?" I said, "Well, I own this one. This one belongs to my wife. She's right there." And she's like, "Oh, hi, ma'am." And she said, "It's so nice to see actual real cars here at a car show." She said, "This is something that I would have drove when I was younger."
I know what I wanted to throw in real quick before I forget. And you and I were going to do this last year, but Project Spirit was out of commission.
Right.
We are going to try to get, if all goes well, if Prince Magnum agrees to this, like we did last year, take me to some of the car shows so I can get footage for my channel.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way, Burt TV will have something different and unique on it that's never been on Burt TV.
Right. Well, and I've got a funny feeling that, now you do realize, Burt, and this is the funny feeling, so I'm going to have to say it. You're at a car show. There's more than one car there. It's not all just Project Spirit, okay?
Well, I can't help it. I'm in love with the girl. I want to marry her. Can I marry her, please?
No, that's just weird.
I have your permission to take your cars and the marriage?
No, that's just weird.
Hi, Dad. I'm your son-in-law.
Right. Well, here, this one is actually really funny.
My Mom the Car, that was a TV show back in the 60s with the late Jerry Van Dyke, who recently died, the brother Dick Van Dyke. Yep.
Again, for those who do not know, like I said, Project Spirit, the one gal that she said, all these other cars I could not afford. Something like this, pointing at Spirit and Vera, this is something that I could afford. I could drive this. This is something that I would have drove. And she said they are great examples of what we used to, what was very commonplace back in the day. I said, and I told her how I used to ride around in my mom's 74 Maverick. And she's like, so you already know. I said, yeah. And she's like, and she's like, well, you don't look that old. And at that time, I was like 36. And I told her, I said, I'm 36. She's like, oh my God, you don't look it, But hey, that's just part of it. But no, I'll tell anybody right now, Project Spirit there's not many of the 4-doors left.
Well, I said on your channel that I am a licensed Missouri driver's license. The reason I don't drive, folks, is I'm on SSI for brain damage from a stroke and PTSD. That's actually my disability. It's legit, and if you want to call me crazy, it's fine. But I can't afford to have my apartment and a car at the same time, so I have to choose one over the other. And I want a place to live. I want a roof over my head. And if it wasn't for subsidized rent, I wouldn't be able to afford a nice apartment like this.
Right. But yeah, I mean, Project Spirit's still rocking and rolling after all these years, and I'll tell anybody, hands down, bar none, she's my second favorite car that I have ever owned. She's also the second oldest, huh?
What was your first?
My 1977 Oldsmobile Delta 88 Royale. Been in my family's from 84, and I continued. It had 3 generations of my family had driven that car. 4 generations had rode in that car. And that car lasted all the way up until 2008.
Did you wreck it?
No, I had an ex that tore it up. When I talked about in the video, stop mistreating your automatics. That woman actually, because she just messed up like that. She actually tore up a bunch of stuff in that car.
This ain't Lady Silvermist. This is the one after that had your kid, right?
Right. She was. Her name was Jessica, and the mother of my son Prince Python, who's 9 years old.
I didn't say her name, but I knew at that point who you were talking about.
She tore up a bunch of stuff in that car. Just totally destroyed it. And it was irreplaceable parts. At one point, she actually was borrowing my car she was borrowing Old Gold to go to work, and she actually broke the bolt to one of the A-frames. Now, folks, if you do not know, those bolts are pretty freaking thick, and they're hard to break. So the driver's side, it was the driver's side front wheel was kind of leaning to the side, and it was actually pretty scary. Talk about extreme camber. And she limped it over to a shop and had that bolt replaced. And that was what she did. She just was really hard on vehicles. As a matter of fact, I asked her to get a ride to work, and I had already had that 283 that was built in Old Gold, and I told the water pump was acting up. I said, I gotta replace it, please don't drive it, get a ride to work, please. And I was already at work. She took the car anyways and drove it as hard as she could and cracked the heads. There was a set of power pack heads on that thing, and the crack was so bad I could have dropped a penny down inside one of the cracks.
Damn. If you crack a head, if I'm not mistaken, it's pretty much total, damn it.
It can be fixed, but it's expensive. It's expensive. And
if you crack the engine block, then you are screwed.
What's that?
If you crack the engine block, you're screwed, right?
Well, that could still be fixed, believe it or not. But it's really not worth doing. It's just too expensive to do. Machine shops can do amazing things to engines. Now, since we're all on the subject, we have talked about rebuilding Spirit's Inline 6, but we've also talked about dropping a V8 in her. Personally, I wouldn't mind keeping the inline six, but it's one of those things. I wouldn't mind keeping the old inline six and just saying I have a parts matching hot rod, but a part of me would like to do a V8. And if I do a V8,
let me ask you this for imagination. What would be in the best interest of Project Spirit, to keep the inline six or drop a V8?
Okay. This is where it gets the inline six. There are parts available still, and there's a ton of aftermarket parts available still. The problem is that they're not as available as they would be for a V8. V8s in any brand of American cars, you can pretty well get whatever you want, and the sky's the limit. The problem is because Project Spirit, her inline six, though I love it to pieces, it's just one of those things that I may not be able to keep it in there because of how difficult it is to get certain parts. But we're going to try. But most likely I am going to have to go to a V8, which I'm not complaining. We have found out that you can cram a 351 Windsor in there.
What would you rather do?
I would like to do an old style inline six, something that nobody's done in years.
You're an innovator, dude. Keep being an innovator.
Well, it's retro. It's very retro. We're talking, 1940s style sort of stuff. 1950s style sort of stuff. Well, they were still doing that in the 60s and 70s. But a V8 would be nice under the hood of Project Spirit. As a matter of fact, I know where I can get a 302 Windsor very easily, and it'll fit right in. All I got to do is get the cross member that they didn't use for the inline sixes. It'll bolt right into place, and then drop the V8 that I want down in her. And of course, I would have to change a few things. I can guarantee that car will lay you back in your seat and leave you screaming for mama if I dropped a 302 in her. And believe it or not, a 351 Windsor, a 302, and the Ford 289 will bolt up to her current transmission. Mavericks are, the Maverick is still, a very popular car. I love Project Spirit. I love rocking, a 43-year-old car. It is so much fun. And if
it's older than you are, dude.
I know it.
Not older than me, folks, but it is older than Prince Magnum.
Yep.
Bert's got a few more mileage and a few more years on Project Spirit.
Yep. Well,
that's why you're not perfect for each other. Let me marry it.
Well, I'll tell you right now. Again, if I build a Ford small block, I think you'll appreciate this. I might go ahead and do the 302, but a lot of people do 302s, which is why I don't want to do a 302. I have thought about taking a 302 and converting it over to a 289 just to say that I've got an old style hot rod engine and do like a retro build that you would have seen in the 60s with a few minor updates. Which that would be cool. That'd be cool as hell, wouldn't it?
Yep, I have to say for Maverick Nation, even though we're not filming on Burt TV right now, I love you, dude. You're a brother to me. I love you so much.
Well, you're like a brother.
Not faggot or anything.
Right. And Princess Faye is trying to call, so I'm going to have to call her right back here in just a few.
Well, we'll wrap up the video.
All right. Well, do you got any final words?
Yes. Get me the plank out of here. No, I'm just joking. So let me end it the way you would end it. See if I get it right.
Okay, let's hear it.
If you have a sweetheart sweeper offer for Valentine's Day tomorrow, watch Surviving Romance. Get out there and work on a project. You can't work on Project Spirit. That'd be kind of weird. And as always, just remember, if no one's ever told you they love you, Burt from Burt TV and Prince Magnum does. Happy 2018. May it be a wonderful year.
There you go. All right, and if you will, let's go ahead. If no one out there has told any of you that they love you today, Prince Magnum does, and Burt from Burt TV does, God bless you, and have a happy 24. Thank you.
I said that.
I know, I gotta say it again. Good video, brother.
Okay, I love y'all.
Private Pile, I'm going to give you 3 seconds. Exactly 3 fucking seconds to wipe that stupid-looking grin off your face, or I will gouge out your eyeballs and skull fuck you!